On this XRGB-mini Framemeister video, we are going to do something a little different. While I usually simply give you my settings and some sample footage, today I'm going to show you my process from start to finish. For this special tutorial episode, I'm going to walk you through setting up a profile for Metal Slug 5 on the original Xbox. While there are many methods for calibrating each game system, I take a completely different approach. I start by using an emulator screenshot and Photoshop. Alright, so in Photoshop we have an emulator screenshot of Metal Slug 5. So here we have an image that is 304 pixels wide by 224 tall. So the first thing I want to do is I want to blow this up 5 times. So I'll go to image, I'll go to image size, and I know that 224 by 5 is 1120 pixels. I'm going to change this to nearest neighbor so that all of my pixels stay nice and sharp. Now, a 1080p signal doesn't have 1120 pixels worth of data. So what I'm going to do now is actually kind of crop this down. So I want this to be 1920 by 1080. And then I want to crop, I'm going to have to choose whether I'm cropping stuff off the bottom or the top. Now obviously looking at this screenshot, we can see that we can sacrifice the data up here as it does not matter. So I've got 1920 by 1080 with a black background. And this is how I want the Xbox footage to look. This is a pixel perfect emulator screenshot. So this is going to be my baseline for when we actually go into the Framemeister and start playing with the settings. Now that we have our 1080p reference shot created, it's time to fire up the Xbox and the Framemeister. Here's what Metal Slug 5 looks like on the default Framemeister settings. As we can see, it really doesn't look like our reference shot at all. The image is too dark, detail is missing, and everything looks a bit squished. The first thing I'm going to do is change the image mode to picture. Standard mode applies some filtering that actually removes detail. This is most obvious in the background trees and leaves. Changing the image mode to picture restores this lost detail. Next, I'm going to correct the scaling. I'm going to first enable the zoom. From here, take it all the way up to 100. Next, I'll take it down one at a time until each horizontal row is exactly 5 pixels tall. The correct result is 90. Next, I'll use the zoom V position until I've pushed the image up, matching my reference shot. The correct setting here is 63. Now that I have my vertical scaling correct as well as the position, it's time to move to the horizontal scaling. Staying in the zoom menu, I'm going to dial in the zoom width function until the width matches my reference shot. The correct setting should be 31. Next, I'll use the zoom H position until I've moved the image to the left, again matching my reference shot. I landed on 31. Now that Metal Slug 5 is the correct size and in the correct position, we need to adjust a few more settings to get the razor sharp emulator look we're looking for. First, I'm going to turn the auto scaler off. With the auto scaler off, I'm going to quickly make sure the default vertical scaling setting is correct as is. A quick jump above and below 6 confirms 6 is correct. Now it's time to move to the horizontal scaling. After adjusting it up and down, I'm still finding the image soft. To correct this, I'm going to go to the color menu and increase the sharpness from 0 to 1. With the sharpness at 1, I'm going to return to the visual set menu and adjust until I find the best setting. In this case, a sharpness of 1 and the H scaler at 10 produces the results I'm looking for. Now, let's take a moment to compare the default settings on the left with what we've done so far. As we can see, while the default settings look pretty good, taking a few minutes to really fine-tune the image yields some significant benefits. Finally, it's time to correct the color. As I make YouTube videos, I obviously need a way to capture video footage. I use an Elgato Game Capture HD to accomplish this. A great feature of the software is the screenshot button. This gives me a decent 1080p screenshot of whatever is on the screen. I can then drag the screenshot into Photoshop and do a direct comparison of the footage with my reference shot. Looking at the Metal Slug 5 footage, we can see the image is too dark and the colors are oversaturated. First, we'll adjust the brightness up to 36, which immediately reveals details lost in the background. Next, I'll reduce the saturation to 27, which reduces the overall yellowness. Next, I'll adjust the AD level, with 140 giving me the white level I'm looking for. Finally, I'll increase the gamma to 20. which further reduces the undesired yellowness. Unfortunately, we aren't done yet. I'll further adjust every setting until I match my reference shot. I settled on a brightness of 34 and a saturation of 25. So with that, let's take a look at our final settings compared to the reference shot we created at the beginning of the video. It's pretty darn close. So with that, we can now save our profile and then load it up whenever we want to play some Metal Slug 5. Wrapping things up, let's compare the default settings of the Framemeister, which might also represent what your television does, with the custom profile we just created.